Hey everybody, we made it to season 23, which has no theme, so it's kind of a free-for-all. So hit like, subscribe, leave a comment, do whatever you want. Just be safe.
She said there's an old white lady on that right here.
Do you have your trauma bag?
There is still someone with a gun.
She's inside.
Okay.
Where?
Bro.
Where?
Ex-military. She's in that house, bro. That apartment. Right here. This first apartment. I need like a 49.
Baby, wake up. Baby, wake up.
That one right there. Number 3.
Wake up. Wake up. Wake up, baby. Wake up. Baby, wake up. Come on. Hey, baby, wake up.
We need to do CPR real quick.
Baby, wake up.
CPR.
Baby, wake up.
Let me see. Do we have any pulse?
Signal 35.
Do we have any pulse?
Station 1033.
We got a pulse. We got pulse. I'm in front.
All right.
Sheriff's office, come outside with your hands up. This is the Marion County Sheriff's Office, come outside with your hands up. Show me your hands. Show me your hands. Turn around. Turn around. Where's your gun at?
You got hands? You got hands?
You're going to be detained.
Is there anybody else in the house?
There's somebody else in the house. Can I just get my daughter?
No, not right now.
All right.
You're not under arrest. You're being detained.
Okay, I understand.
Come over here.
Wait, can you close the door? I have 2 cats inside.
Hold on.
I want the cats to run out.
On June 2nd, 2023, police in Ocala, Florida were called to the scene of a shooting. 58-year-old Susan Lorincz had shot 35-year-old Ajike Owens through her front door at about 9 p.m. after a neighborhood dispute. Susan claimed she fired in self-defense, but an investigation would reveal that that was not actually the case. This is Monsters. Susan Lorincz was born on July 23, 1964, and some sources say she grew up in Florida. In one of her police interviews, she claimed she was sexually assaulted and beaten by a family member in New Jersey repeatedly between the ages of 4 and 20. It's also mentioned that she lived in Michigan as well, so it's unclear where she was born or where she grew up. It's been reported that she grew up in a conservative household and that her family was hostile toward the growing diversity in the area, whichever area that may have been. I couldn't find any information that showed she was ever married or had children of her own. Something went wrong in her household, though, because in August of 2024, Susan's sister, Ellen Lorincz, was arrested and charged with child neglect. Police had responded to the woman, who also lived in Ocala, multiple times based on reports of leaving her 9-year-old son alone with no food, and she had failed to provide the child with proper medication. So, to me, there was clearly a lack of moral compass when it came to the Lorincz sisters. Susan mentioned in her first police interview that she had a PhD, and it's unclear what subject it was in. She had worked for United Healthcare, but by the time of the incident, she was not working and seeking disability. She had lived in an apartment on Southwest 107th Lane in Ocala starting in 2020, and she was described as reclusive and stubborn. Her neighbors reported that she was known for her quick temper and her interactions with others were often contentious. Neighbors said that Susan was particularly hostile towards children, and it makes me wonder what happened to her and her sister that made them treat children negatively. There isn't much known about her past, and the psychology behind both of their actions is a mystery. After the Owens family moved in across the street, Susan seemed to focus her rage on those children. Ajike Owens went by AJ. In all of Susan's interviews, she calls her neighbor Ajike, showing that she didn't seem to have made any effort to get to know her.
So the woman that got shot, what is her name?
AJ.
AJ. Right, it's AJ.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even after having been corrected, she continues to call Ajike Ajike throughout both of her interviews, showing a complete lack of respect for the woman she had shot. People in the neighborhood described Susan constantly provoking the children, recording them, and they said she called them racial slurs. She described that their relationship was contentious in a later interview.
So the woman that got shot, what is her name?
AJ.
AJ. Right, it's AJ.
Yeah.
Okay, and how long have you known her?
I really didn't know her. I just, she was a neighbor across the street.
Okay, so how long has she been a neighbor across the street from you? Help me understand that.
A year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, year and a half and 2 years. And in that year and a half and 2 years, how many times have you guys been able to talk?
We've never talked. It's more like screaming.
No, okay, all right. So maybe the better word would be communicate. How many times have you guys been able to communicate in that year and a half or 2 years?
2, 3 times.
2 or 3 times. And in those 2 or 3 times over a year and a half and 2 years, what were you guys screaming about? What were you guys communicating about?
She would take her dog and walk it on my sidewalk to make sure it's shit on the sidewalk. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Of all the places you can walk and take your animal, you're going to come here. And
Sure.
She said, it's the only place my dog will go to the bathroom.
Okay.
I'm
So,
like, no, I don't think so.
okay,
No.
so you guys would have a disagreement regarding that, some screaming regarding the dog pooping where it shouldn't. What else would you guys communicate about in that 2 or 3 times?
Then one time she was talking to the neighbors and she said, oh, that bitch over there is crazy. And I went, no, I'm not going to, sorry. I walked over, I said, what is your problem? And she just went on a tirade. I have never heard someone scream like this woman. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, she exploded. And I'm like, oh shit.
How long ago was that?
2 months ago.
2 months?
2 or 3 months ago. And then she was saying I called her kids all kinds of names. And I'm like, no, I didn't. And the more I said no, the more irate she got. Finally, I'm like, you know what, let me just back off, say yes, I'll apologize, and scurry away.
What kind of things was she saying that you called her kids?
I called them racial slurs, that I called them slaves, and that's never happened. I mean, when she said, I'm like, what are you, stop already, stop lying, And I was like, enough, what? I did call them retards once, because they just kept coming and coming. I said, are you retarded? You can't read the sign.
Okay.
How many times do we have to tell you you're trespassing,
Obviously, Susan became known as the neighborhood Karen. In case you don't know what a Karen is, Merriam-Webster's dictionary states, Karen is a slang term used to disparage a stereotypically middle-class, middle-aged white woman who rebukes or reports others in angry, sometimes racist public displays. I think it's safe to say that Susan fits that description. She began making calls to 911 to report the children who were playing in the area, and local officers became well known with the lonely woman.
So what's going to be the plan of action with this lady? Do you know more or less?
I can't really go into everything, but she is in custody.
Well, yeah, that I do know, but the only reason why I'm saying it is it's gonna be chaos, man. You know what I mean? It's everyone's pretty eat up.
I'm very familiar with this lady. I don't work this zone anymore.
Yeah.
But I'm very familiar with her. So I know the situation and what she has done and everything.
Now, I've lived in a number of apartments as well as houses in various residential areas. I've lived in a few places that were more rural and you could scream and yell or, say, have your punk band practice there and nobody would ever notice. I've also lived in the city where you can hear traffic and people shouting or car alarms and police sirens at all times. The other option is to live in the suburbs where you're between the city and the wilderness and generally there are going to be other people close enough to still affect you. There are pros and cons to everything. You can live out in the country and it's much quieter and oftentimes it's more affordable, but you're further away from things. Work, schools, shopping, so transportation is an issue. You can live in the city and just walk to work and school, but it's noisy and more populated. Most people's happy medium is to live in the suburbs. It can be quieter and conveniently located not too far from the places you need to go. I found that the suburbs tend to be quieter in the middle of the night and during work hours in the middle of the day, but afternoons, evenings, and weekends can be noisier. Kids are out playing and people are working on weekend projects. That's the con to balance out the benefits of living in that type of area. If your priority is quiet, and especially if children screaming bothers you, living in a suburban neighborhood surrounded by average families with children is not your best option. I know, not everyone is able to find the perfect place to live, but that's where being a reasonable human being comes in. You have to understand how the world works, identify that where you live is not the perfect place for you, and not expect everyone else around you to modify their behavior in order to appease you. Fighting with children is not what a reasonable adult should do. A reasonable adult would put up heavy curtains that help block sound or get headphones to use with their television or radio. And asking the children to keep it down or move to a different area is not out of the question, but you need to be polite, something that neighbors said Susan never was. Early in my marriage, my wife and I lived in an apartment complex. We didn't have children yet, so it was just a one-bedroom apartment on the ground floor. It was a decent-sized complex that had multiple buildings, and there were 1 or 2 playgrounds for the children in the complex to play on. We never considered the location of the playgrounds when we got the apartment, but one of them was right outside our back door. There was the front door on the side of the building with the road and parking lot, and a glass slider at the backside with a little patio. Then 20 feet or about 6 meters away was a full playground. So every day the group of children would be out there playing just outside of our living room. They were toddlers up to preteens, and children that age don't have the ability to control the sounds they make. When something excites them, they scream, at the top of their lungs. They haven't developed the context for how the sounds they make affect other people. Their parents tell them not to scream or to be quieter, and that's fine. That helps them learn the appropriate volumes for different situations. But little kids don't know yet. That's why a toddler in a grocery store will ask his mom for candy like she's on the other side of the store when she's actually right next to him. The concept of appropriate volume is not something human beings are born with. In my opinion, it takes a very broken person to believe that children should be under perfect control all the time. You don't need to understand child psychology or even know enough about children to take care of them, but it's hard to accept that anybody doesn't have the basic grasp that children are learning how to behave and will be loud by nature.
I only know him by his name, Sapito.
So, okay.
So he's a guy, he gets all the kids together, so they're screaming and yelling and they're doing all this crazy stuff, and I'm like, stop already. And I asked him, I said, please stop. I don't like the yelling. I just, I'm sort of going to break down.
No, take your time.
She's on the verge of tears, but not about an innocent woman, a mother of 4 children, being murdered. She's on the verge of tears thinking about the kids screaming and yelling. It feels like she grew up never being able to have fun. On June 2nd, 2023, Susan had become upset at the neighborhood children again and dialed 911 at 8:54 p.m.
All right, and tell me exactly what happened.
We got kids trespassing again. They're leaving all the toys around. They're just screaming, yelling, just being absolutely obnoxious. I went and threw the roller skates over to the other side. The kid says, I'm going to beat you up for that. And he's mouthing off to me.
All right.
Threatened in my own home. Yeah, there are several kids out there right now, and I'm fearing for my life. I'm very scared.
Okay. Were there any weapons involved?
No.
How many people are involved?
Earlier, there was about 20 kids out here screaming, yelling. Asked them to leave. They're like, screw you. Now there's 3 boys.
3?
Yes.
Okay.
I just don't like them coming around my house. They've been coming onto my deck, my patio, and telling me, get up, when I'm watching TV and stuff. They have no business over here. There's no trespassing sign. I don't like the kids threatening me that they're going to beat me up, that they're going to get someone else to kill me. And this is just ridiculous. They just keep badgering me. I'm just sick of these children. Now that they're home from school, it's like, craziness. Because what's going to happen is his mom's going to go out and wait for the officer and run and say, oh my God, I was threatening her kid, which just isn't true.
So that evening, she called emergency services about the kids trespassing outside of her house. She claimed that they threatened her with violence and an officer was dispatched to the scene. What she didn't tell the operator while she was making herself out to be a victim was that she had already confronted the children that were outside. There was some conflict over a tablet. One of the kids said she took his tablet and she denied that. I don't know that the truth about what happened to the tablet was ever determined, but that caused a conflict. Then Susan had gone outside, picked up a roller skate, and thrown it at one of the kids. Of course, Susan claimed she didn't throw it at them, she just threw it, but one of the children said it hit them. Then she grabbed an umbrella and swung it at the kids. Again, Susan denied that and said she brought the umbrella outside because she thought it was raining. Because when you're standing in an open door in your house, it's so hard to tell whether or not it's raining, right? Those actions had upset the mother of those children, who happened to be Ajike Owens. Now, as a parent, if my neighbor threatened my children with physical violence, I would likely approach them and question them about what happened. And based on what my child told me, I would probably be angry, especially if they said the neighbor had thrown something at them or swung something at them. My first step would be to talk to the neighbor and try to fix the problem. Susan apparently did not think that was the right course of action.
In your head, during the panic, during all these thoughts, what did you feel that was going to happen?
And she's going to come in there and beat the shit out of me until I was dead.
Okay.
I mean, that's what I felt. I mean, I don't understand why she came over my house. If there was all these issues and problems, why didn't you just call somebody? That's, to me, that's what you would do if you're normal. That's a normal thing to do. If something happens to me, I call the police. The kids are being run or she's banging it, but when I couldn't find my phone and everything, I was just like, shit. I honestly, I felt she was going to kill me.
That is a Karen's point of view, that you need to call the police for everything. To call the police every time kids are outside being loud. That is why the neighbors called her a Karen, because she was one. Ajike, on the other hand, wanted to talk to her neighbor about how her children had been treated by her. Was she upset? Of course, but Susan believed that she was threatening to kill her. That's when Susan retrieved a handgun and fired a single round into her front door. Then she called 911 again.
911 was the address of the emergency.
Oh my God, this lady just tried to break down my door. I shot through the door. Oh my God.
Okay, repeat that address for me to make sure I have it correct. Okay, what is your name? Okay, take a deep breath for me. Calm down.
Oh my God.
You said someone tried to break down your door, is that correct?
Yes, the woman was screaming and yelling and she was trying to break down my door and she was...
Okay, it was a female?
Yes. I didn't know what to do. I grabbed my gun and I shot at the door. And I thought she was going to get me. Oh my God.
Okay, you said you shot at the door, is that correct?
Yes, I shot at the door because she wouldn't stop. I told her to get away and she wouldn't. She just begging to stay.
Okay, where's your gun now?
It's in my bedroom. I didn't know what to do. I was panicking. This is the woman who attacked me.
Okay, do you still see the subject?
I don't know where she is. I'm still in my house. I didn't open my door to her.
Susan is clearly freaking out, but that is completely contrasted by her composure when she's taken into custody.
Show me your hands! Show me your hands! Turn around! Turn around! Where's your gun at?
You got hands? You got hands?
You're going to be detained.
Is there anybody else in the house?
There's somebody else in the house. Can I just get my
No,
water?
no, not right now.
All right.
You're not under arrest. You're being detained.
Okay, I understand.
Come over here.
Oh, wait, can you close the door? I have 2 cats inside.
Hold
I
on.
want the cats to run out.
She's cool as a cucumber. On top of her being completely calm by the time the authorities get there, she also badmouths the victims during the 911 call.
And did you know her?
Yes, she's come after me several times because of her children. Her children keep trespassing over here. They're bothering me and bothering me. They won't fucking stop.
Is she a neighbor?
Yes.
Do you know where she lives?
I don't know. I don't know.
Okay.
She has an old broken down Honda or something, a white car in front of her house. It's all garbage.
You said a white Honda?
Yes. And then she has a new Acura.
And do you see the male subject, or you just see the female?
See, her boys were here earlier. They keep leaving their garbage all around the house.
Okay.
And then I told them to take the crap away, get the fuck out of here.
Most people are focused on the shooting when something like this happens. The fact that Susan is still focused on insulting the person she just shot is very telling. It puts her motivation for the shooting into some perspective. She tells investigators that she fired a shot because of how much she was in fear for her life, but peppering in little jabs at the person she's supposedly in fear of doesn't add up. A sheriff's deputy was already on the way, and once the calls about the shooting came in, more deputies and an ambulance were sent. AJ had been shot in the chest and had stumbled out into the grass. Paramedics arrived and took her to the hospital where she died from her wounds. While on the scene, one deputy got some information from one of the children who was involved.
Hey. I left my iPad over there because we were playing games. I went to get it. I said, give me my iPad to her. She threw the...
All right, but come over here for a second.
Ajike inside.
If y'all were here when it happened, just stand right here so I know who was out here when it happened, okay?
I left my iPad over there because we were playing games. And I went to go get it. I said, give me my iPad because she had it. She dropped it, tried to throw the skates at me. And and then I got my brother. He said, come hit me with the skates. And then,
All right, bud. Give me a minute. Just hang out by my car, okay?
The deputies were eventually told just to take down contact information and that the detectives would conduct interviews. Obviously, Susan was taken into custody, though she was technically not placed under arrest. She was taken to the station and interviewed by detectives.
So what happened tonight that led to the conclusion that...
Well, I'm like, kids go home. So they go home, and then all of a sudden she comes out, and she is just banging on my door. I'm like, go away. I'm not dealing with you tonight. And then she started banging so hard, everything started shaking. And I'm like, you really need to leave. And then she, I'm going to fucking kill you. And she's just banging away. You know, and I'm like, oh, she's crazy. And since she has actually harmed me, I'm like, it just keeps getting worse and worse. I'm like, I don't know what to do with her. And she banged so hard, it looked like my door was going to fly off. And I panicked. And I was like, oh my gosh, she's really going to kill me this time, you know. And so I don't even actually remember picking up the gun. I just remember shooting.
Where do you keep the gun usually?
It's in my bedroom.
That's where you keep it? Like in a cabinet or something, or just like...
It's just, I actually keep it in the trash can.
Okay.
That was the beginning of Susan's tale of AJ coming to her house and threatening to kill her. She claimed that she was banging on the door so hard it was shaking the entire house. The house was built of cinder block, and the detective eventually went back to the scene and tried to recreate the situation and could not make the house shake. Of course, as you'll soon learn, everything that Susan says is a complete exaggeration. By the time Susan was interviewed, investigators had spoken to people in the area.
So, prior to her coming over there and banging on your door, because we talked to a lot of people that were out there at the time, and there was some statements given to us that you had taken a tablet or picked up a tablet that was
No,
on
sir,
the ground?
absolutely not,
No? Okay.
That child, like, the other day he said to me, I'm gonna go tell my mom that you called me a slave. I'm like, what? And he came over with a rake and he was pounding everything with the rake. I'm like, really? Seriously? So I don't know what's going on with that child.
Mm-hmm.
So
And which child is that you're talking about?
It's on the video. If you give me my phone, I'll show you which child it is. I don't know by names.
Is it one of the older ones?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was the deal with the roller skate? Because again, we talked to a lot of people who were outside and kind of witnessed some of
They
this.
keep leaving all their toys around. The other day, I almost killed myself going out. I had an early morning doctor's appointment, and I didn't see the roller skate, and I almost killed myself. And I'm like, guys, stop already. This is not your garbage yard.
Mm-hmm.
And the kid's got his roller skates there, and I'm like, really, take your roller skates. And I threw the roller skates. I'm like, go fetch them. Just enough. Because
Did you throw that at them?
Oh,
or?
God, no.
Okay.
No, I just
And what is
threw-
the thing about the umbrella? You have an umbrella?
I thought it was raining before, and I walked out and it wasn't raining. I'm like, okay. So.
Okay. And you swung it at them or one of them?
I wasn't even close. I was still inside the vestibule. So.
How can we explain that then with people saying, like multiple people that weren't talking to each other, that if they were saying that that's what they saw?
I don't know. Maybe I did step out and I'm like, guys, go away, but I would never touch them.
Okay. Maybe swat at them with it, but not.
Exactly.
Okay.
If I did it, it was probably because I was just so, come on.
This is the problem with people like this. Their memory is selective. When she describes how AJ threatened her, she had a perfect memory. She is absolutely sure that AJ said she was going to kill her. Then when someone says she swung an umbrella at the kids, her memory suddenly gets cloudy. And for many people in a situation like this, it might not necessarily be a flat-out lie. It's the way they've interpreted the situation. Susan had already decided that AJ was a danger, so her memory of any perceived threats are heightened, making even benign actions seem threatening. At the same time, she believes she's the victim, so no matter how threatening her own behavior is, it doesn't register as being a big deal to her. She's the victim, so clearly any of her actions were not meant to be threatening. And everything that happens to her is exaggerated. There was a roller skate outside and she nearly killed herself because of it. Right. After the interview, Susan was released while the detectives continued their investigation. Susan said she was going to stay in a hotel because she didn't feel safe going home, which is funny because so far she was the only person in her neighborhood who had killed somebody. Over the next few days, more interviews were conducted and surveillance video was reviewed. On June 6th, protesters gathered outside of the Marion County Judicial Center to demand that Susan be arrested, and the state attorney told them that the investigation was ongoing and that they should be patient. The following day, Susan was brought back in for a second interview and quite a few details were uncovered.
And I asked him, I said, please. I said, one of my friends was murdered when I was very young, and she screamed. She was bound and gagged, and the guy thought he killed her, and she screamed. And so every time those little kids scream, I keep thinking of my friend Elizabeth.
Tell me about that. Whoa.
So, and I asked him, I said, Pito, please, these kids screaming like this, it's triggering me. I don't want to hear this, And he's like, you're full of shit, you're a liar, you're a cunt, you're this, you're that. I'm like, really? I'm like, why would I tell this story and it's not true?
I know this is kind of not really related to what we're talking about, but what happened with your friend? Is that when you were very young? Or?
14.
Oh my gosh. So
a guy came and he raped her and he beat her and he thought he killed her. And he bound her up. She was at Shilton Factory, the Old Spice Factory in Jersey.
Oh, wow.
And next to it was a children's playground. And he buried her there in a shallow grave. And she wasn't dead. So when the coroner said that there was all dirt in her lungs because she kept screaming and screaming and screaming. So every time those little girls screamed, it just kind of, made me think of Elizabeth.
During this interview, Susan tells a story about her friend having been killed, and now kids screaming triggers her. Now, we have to go back to the subject of living in a residential area. You live in society with other people. You can't expect the people around you to change their lives to appease you. Susan is expecting children to not scream when they play because of a crime that happened 44 years prior that she was not involved in, with a victim she did not physically hear scream. She was just told the victim likely screamed. This is someone who makes every problem about themselves. Every single thing that has happened in life has victimized her. That murder victimized her, the neighbor riding his four-wheeler victimized her, a mother being upset at her for abusing her kids victimized her. She had neck surgery, so this affects her. She had a blood clot, so that affects her. Everything affects her, and she expects everyone around her to adjust their lives accordingly, and that's not reasonable. That's entitled. On top of that, it seems like she expected people to automatically behave in a way that catered to her. It doesn't sound like she ever explained her position and asked for anything. The kids were screaming, as kids do, and she was just upset that the kids were triggering her, like they would automatically know that. She lived in a world that she believed revolved around her. During this interview, she also explained that she wanted to fire her gun to scare Ajike away, not to kill her. Yet she fired a shot directly into the door where a person would be standing. She didn't fire into the ceiling or even into the area above the door. She fired exactly where the bullet would hit someone's center mass if they were standing on the other side of that door. And she had been to the range and practiced shooting.
Are you experienced with firearms? You got two guns, and it sounds like you have the little plinker, and you know about the price of ammo. Are you well versed with them?
I used to be terrified of firearms. And then a friend said, you really can't defend yourself. He said, you should think about getting a gun.
Okay.
So,
when did you first get a gun? Was it just, or did you have other guns historically?
No, I never did.
Okay.
I first bought a 9mm, but it was just way too much gun for me, so I sold it. And then I got the little 380.
Okay. And did you go to any kind of training for those using guns, like going to the range, or tell me about that?
Went to the range, watched videos, all the other stuff, just self-educating, and I was going to go take a permit to carry course.
Sure.
And I didn't get around to it.
She was planning to get a concealed carry permit, but luckily she never had the chance. Could you imagine if she was walking around in society with a gun on her? An angry, bitter Karen who believed anyone who got angry at her was a threat? The detectives tried to get more details out of Susan to explain some of the things they found when they talked to other people in the neighborhood, but her selective memory was an issue.
Detective Stith has been talking to you about the timeline, okay? And some of the work we've done. Now, this is a picture that I draw. I'm not an artist at all, but when I tell you some of the work we've done, we spoke to all the people over. This is your house, by the way. Okay, this is. We'll put an S for you. We spoke to everybody in these buildings. We spoke to them all in these buildings, and we talked to anybody that had cameras that would see different areas. These cameras, they hear things. We're able to hear audio. We're able to hear things like that. And everyone that we interviewed, I pretty much got the same, Detective Stith, I think we all got the same statement from every single person we interviewed. We lined up, well, we didn't line them up. These people were interviewed in different locations. Some of them were interviewed in different buildings, in different places. I interviewed them at different houses, and all these people provided me similar statements, okay? No one that provided these, now these people could hear her talking. Okay, because she was talking loudly. You said that you could hear it through the wall, and I can agree with that. Okay, she made a statement, something to the effect of, "Why'd you take my kid's iPad?" Okay, somebody heard her say that.
I never touched an iPad. I never saw the iPad. I don't know what this iPad is about.
A tablet or something like that?
Again, no tablet, no iPad, no electronics at all. It was never there, or at least I never saw it.
Okay.
So I have no idea.
Was she? Maybe she's wrong, but was she asking you about a tablet or accusing you of something with a tablet or an iPad? I don't know if it's an iPad or a tablet. She could have? She
could have.
Okay. You seem unsure of some of the stuff she's saying through the door. Did she say, you're not really sure if she said that?
She could have said it during her rants.
Okay. Yeah. She's saying these things. The thing is everything that we've learned so far, I have not learned of her ever saying to you that she wanted to get into the house. It sounded more like she wanted to talk to you outside of the house.
How do you want to talk to outside the house when you're banging and screaming?
Yeah.
That's not reasonable.
One of the people said that she said, "Come outside."
That's not, I'm sorry.
Come
That's
out.
not what?
It's not reasonable and prudent. I mean, you just don't, bang and expect someone to come out. Yeah, I think I'll come outside so you can,
Well, I know. I mean,
seriously.
What I'm learning, what these people said is that she was saying to come outside. She wanted to confront you about something. She wanted you to come outside. Do you remember her making statements and asking you to come out there and talk to her?
I honestly don't recall.
Okay, so you don't remember that, and you seem unsure about some of the statements she made about the tablet. No one that we've interviewed so far has made any statements about her saying that she wanted to kill you.
That's what I heard.
Okay.
Susan continued to deny that a tablet was involved, but she admitted she wasn't sure. In the same clip, the detective tells her that nobody else in the area heard AJ threaten her, but Susan suddenly has a perfect memory of that. The interview continues like that.
The deadbolt, was that
okay?
Right? And you just didn't have the chain lock?
I was going to say, I remember I didn't have the chain. I'm not quite sure if I had the deadbolt on or not.
Okay.
She can't remember if the deadbolt was locked. Someone is, according to her, about to break down the door and kill her, but she can't remember if the deadbolt was locked.
Well, we talked about pounding on the door. Did she ever pound on the glass wall? Is it a window or wall? Help me.
It's doors. It's sliders.
Glass sliding door.
Yeah.
She pound on that?
She may have. I don't know. All I kept thinking is she's going to gain entrance. She's going to kill me.
She can't remember if AJ went around the building and pounded on the sliding glass door. And then the best one.
We kind of went through your first interview, and in that first interview, you had even said to the kids, "You know what? Go get your mom."
No, I didn't.
You said something along the lines as when they said, "I'm going to go get my mom," you said, "Go get her."
Go get her. Which is fine. I want to talk to an adult too. I don't want to talk to a kid.
I remember saying that. And then they were like, "I'm going to tell my mom." I'm like, "Go tell your mom. I don't care."
She was recorded saying what she doesn't remember saying now. And it's possible she doesn't remember saying that. This is why stories change when people are lying. The truth is always the truth. If I tell you what happened truthfully, I can tell you pretty close to the same story a few days later, because I'm recalling the truth. I don't have to remember parts of the story that were lies. Susan made a comment about not caring that the kids were going to tell their mother, which was likely the truth. But over the course of the investigation, she needed to play up how scared of AJ she was, which involved convincing herself that she was afraid of AJ. So the way she remembers the events of the day have changed. She remembers that AJ came to her apartment and was pounding on the door threatening to kill her, which wasn't what happened. She remembers being victimized by the children in her neighborhood, and she remembers not having done anything wrong. After the shooting, another neighbor called 911, and her description of Susan is very interesting.
My neighbor has been banging on the wall between our apartments and screaming at the kids outside, and all of a sudden I heard what to me sounded like a gunshot. And then she was screaming, and I don't know if she was running away. I just don't know. Yeah.
You said it was just one gunshot?
Yeah, I only heard one, and then she started screaming. I don't even know if it was a gun, but that's what it sounded like. And I'm hiding in the bathroom right now. And when that noise went that I think was a gun, even my cats went and ran under the bed. She lives in apartment.
Okay. Which apartment do you live in?
I live in. Okay. Now the kids play in the little field or the empty lot next to us, and she screams at them a lot.
All right.
And I don't know what's going on, but I'm afraid to go into my living room. And she was screaming a lot.
It becomes clear to the detectives that Susan's version of events is not true, and there was more than enough evidence to prove it wasn't true. Her timeline alone was not even close to what had actually happened. According to Susan, she had called 911 to report being threatened by the children. Then, about 10 minutes later, AJ came over and started pounding on her front door. There was about 5 minutes of pounding and AJ threatening to kill her before Susan finally retrieved her gun and fired a shot at the door. When asked why she didn't dial 911 again while AJ was pounding on the door, Susan claimed she couldn't find the phone. That implies that she spent time, even a small amount of time, looking for the phone. After the shooting, she seemed to magically find the phone and then call 911 again.
From some of the other statements we've got, some of the things that we've learned, it sounds more like there was 3 knocks and then there was 3 more and then she was shot. It sounds like this was very quick. It sounds like this was like within a span of less than 20 seconds is what I would say. Is it possible that your time is off on this?
It could be.
Okay.
Because to me it felt like forever.
Okay.
So
if this is like what's being described as a 20-second, this is a brief encounter. It's a brief encounter with loud banging, with loud yelling. The statements that some of the statements that you're saying occurred, like I'm going to kill you and those kind of threats. No one else has heard you. No one else has heard her make those statements. Okay.
Yet another detail that Susan can't remember correctly. The detectives also went over the timeline of 911 calls made from Susan's phone. Susan called 911 at 8:54 p.m. to report the children threatening her and hung up that call at 8:59 p.m. Police were dispatched to the scene at that time. She called 911 again at 9:01 p.m., 2 minutes later. Based on the 911 calls and what neighbors heard, AJ showed up about a minute after the first 911 call ended. The conflict lasted about 20 seconds and then Susan called 911 again. There was no time for AJ to make repeated threats, which was backed up by nobody in the area hearing any. There was no time for Susan to look for her phone and consider calling 911 before firing the gun. It seems like there wasn't even enough time to consider her options. If she didn't already have the gun in her hand, then she would have needed to retrieve it almost immediately after AJ started pounding on her door. If she did already have the gun in her hand, the question is why? This timeline is nothing like the one she gave to detectives.
When she first came up and where were you when she started the beating?
I was
the
in the
very first
bathroom.
time. You were in the bathroom when she started beating.
Yeah.
And did you come to the door?
Well, I was approaching the door and then she started screaming and I knew who it was.
Okay.
I said, that's it, I'm not opening this door.
Okay.
Because I figured if she came in, she would just absolutely, pound me into the ground.
All right. And then when it became silent, after that first round of beating on your door, where were you at then? Did you go?
I think I went to wash my hands, honestly.
Okay.
Because I didn't know who was at the door and I went to know, and then I was like,
okay.
So I went back and washed my hands.
Okay. So that's during the time where it was kind of quiet and you thought that maybe she went away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when the banging and the yelling started again, where were you at then?
I think I was in the kitchen.
Okay. All right. And then what happened?
And then she just kept banging and yelling. I'm like, you need to leave. You're trespassing. Get off my porch. Get out of here. I'm not talking to you. Leave.
Okay. Who else was outside the door besides Ajike?
No idea.
You don't know?
What Susan described was completely disproven. The worst part is that she fired a gun at her front door without knowing who was on the other side. She heard AJ yelling but had no way of knowing if anyone else was there. Sadly, one of AJ's sons was at the front door with her, though he fortunately wasn't hurt. But what if it had been someone else?
What if, and I was thinking about this earlier, what if the police officer had already arrived and she is loud and she's still yelling, and now the officer's standing in front of the door and he does some knocks, but she's still on that door patio yelling, and you're shooting, you can't see, there's no peephole, there's no window, there's nothing, and then you shoot, and what if the door officer was on the other side of the door? You see what I mean? And obviously she's still running her mouth, she's still going, but you don't know what's on the other side of that door.
Hopefully he would have introduced himself.
I sure hope so. I mean, and that's what some of the issues are, that I can't get there, and I don't understand entirely what was going on in your mind, and I don't see how that is entire. Were you on alcohol or anything like? I gotta ask these questions. Were there anything in your mind that would impair yourself in your judgments?
I took Belbuca earlier in the day.
What is that?
It's it was for my back.
Okay, is that a narcotic?
Yes.
I'm not a muscle relax. I'm guessing here.
No, it's a pain reliever.
Okay, it's a pain reliever.
Mm-hmm.
What if the officer had just stepped up to the door? She had called 911. She was expecting someone to arrive. What if a different neighbor had been there? What if someone else had come out and was going to try to calm down AJ? The entire situation is just so irresponsible on Susan's part. And at the end of the day, Susan's thoughts were only about Susan.
Let me ask you this. You said that you went on Facebook today. I can only imagine that at some point you may have seen some of the news dealing with this case and this story.
Yes.
Okay. What kind of stuff did you see?
I threw a tablet at the child. I said all kinds of things that I never said.
You know what I saw? I saw 4 kids that no longer have a mother. And I'm not taking away how you were treated, but those are children nonetheless, right? And now they don't have a mother to go home to.
When Susan saw the news, all she cared about was what people had said about her. No sympathy for the person she had murdered, the person she supposedly was not trying to kill when she fired a shot directly at her. No sympathy for the children who no longer had a mother, just concern for what people were saying about her. This is the type of person who would definitely hurt or kill someone again if they were not punished for this crime. She had no sense of responsibility and still only thought about the entire situation with her own victimhood in mind. When the detectives were finished interviewing her, they told her that she was being charged with manslaughter and this was her final selfish act.
All right, we're going to have you go with this deputy here.
No.
I'm sorry?
No.
No what?
I can't.
What's wrong? What's going on?
I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't do this.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, we're to that point where that's what's going to happen. Obviously, this isn't a conviction. This is you being charged, and then you're going to have your day in court to present your side of the story. Okay, so you're going to go with this deputy.
No, I'm not.
You're going to be booked in.
No, I'm not.
And fingerprinted.
No.
They're going to take your pictures, and then you will have an arraignment in the morning.
I'm not going to, sorry.
There's a phone down there. You'll be able to call whoever you need to call, and right there in booking.
I'm not going.
But Susan, we are going. There's no change in that now. You're under arrest. In fact, we can probably go ahead and put handcuffs on her. Let's get her. Let's get you handcuffed.
No.
Stand up.
No, don't touch me.
Susan.
Stand up, Susan.
No.
Listen.
Sorry, I can't
It can
do
go
this.
one
I
of two
can't
ways.
do
It can
this.
go an easy way or it can go a really hard way.
I'm sorry.
We don't want it to go the hard way.
I'm so sorry. I
Susan,
can't
put
do
yourself in our position. There's no choice in this. You're going over there.
I'm sorry, I can't do this.
Susan, you understand that from the point of the story that you've given us, that by refusing and resisting, that it's making you look bad, okay? And I understand your reluctance to want to go.
I just can't do
Okay,
this.
well, they have medical staff over there
As soon
that
as
can
you get over
assist
there, there's a
you.
nurse right in the front.
They can, you give them the
can't
prescription
do this.
medications that you're taking, all that. They will assist you in making sure that you get the care you need.
No,
But
I can't
we're
do
going
this.
over there, okay? You're going to go over there and,
I just can't do this.
okay, well,
Come on, Susan, stand up.
if
we
we
don't have
have,
time to
Seriously,
debate.
I can't do this.
okay, but do you understand that you're under arrest and you're
I
going to be
understand
taken to the
under
jail
arrest.
one way or another, okay?
I don't care.
Susan?
I just can't do this. I'm sorry.
She was so entitled that she thought she would get away with killing her neighbor that she tried to refuse being taken to jail. Like a spoiled child that had never learned to take responsibility for her actions. She is truly an awful person. AJ's family and supporters criticized the decision to pursue manslaughter instead of second-degree murder charges. State Attorney William Gladson explained they just needed evidence of hatred, spite, ill will, or evil intent towards the victim to charge second-degree murder, but the investigation couldn't prove that. He acknowledged the community wanted harsher charges, but said his obligation as state attorney is to follow the law. The metal door that separated both women became the prosecution's strongest evidence. He stressed that Ajike Owens couldn't pose an immediate threat while standing outside Susan Lorinc's secured home. He said, quote, "It's not a crime to bang on somebody's door. It's not a crime to yell." It was also revealed that Susan had looked up information about stand your ground laws right before the shooting, adding credibility to the idea that the shooting was pre-planned. She actually used the term reasonable and prudent multiple times while being interviewed by detectives, which is the exact wording used in information about stand your ground laws. That triggered investigators to look into her search history. Susan Lorincz was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 25 years in prison. Ajike Owens' family and their attorney started the Standing in the Gap Fund right after AJ's death. Their main goal was to make sure her children would have proper education, housing, and psychological support. The community showed strong support quickly, and hundreds of people donated money in the first month. There is a lot of discourse about self-defense and guns in the United States. It's argued that having more people be armed will make the community safer, but incidents like this seem to prove otherwise. Too many people get shot for completely benign actions like knocking on the wrong door, but even encountering someone who's angry shouldn't mean firearms are immediately the answer. People get angry, it doesn't mean they're a threat. Then you take into consideration that different people react differently to different situations. There was a question of racial motivation in this case. Would Susan have perceived her life was in danger if a white person was pounding on her door? It seems unlikely. Obviously, it takes a monster to think an unarmed black woman is such a threat she deserves to be shot within 20 seconds. But there will be no end to people dying at the hands of guns as long as they are readily available to anybody who wants one. Thanks so much for letting me tell you this story. If you're a fan of true crime, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an episode. You can also hit like or leave a comment. If you'd like to support the show, check out our merchandise at thisismonsters.com. The link is in the description. Thanks again, and be safe.